Ladies and gentlemen, no, Mr. Ed. Welcome to Signalis. I am, as ever, your host, the Lore Runner. Um, so here's what I know about this game. Alright, done. I do want to say shoutouts and thank you to the people who made this game happen, including Bragwin, Chill Pangolin, Frieza2000, GameGeek5698, Judo Joker, Kira White Noise, Lucas Slaughter, Mr. Red, 97, The Simple Gamer 10, Walker02, Floating Triangles, Off the Deeper End, person who put this game on the list, which is Deckfish, and our majority shareholder by about 90%, which is Ann Diddy. Thank you, all of you, very, very much. Now, also, before I go any further, I should mention there is a fairly strong flashing light sensitivity warning for this game. So I'm saying that here, so that anybody on the VOD or anybody on the stream, you have been warned. So yes, this is what we call one of the grandfather games. This game got in and funded, that is to say on the list, before we added the no horror rule. So anything that got grandfathered in, well, here we go. Also meant to mention, one other thing, just guys, how old is that rule now? Oh, I don't know, a couple of years at this point. One of the little factoids I like to keep track of is how long it takes a run to get funded. This is actually a fairly quick run to get funded, all things considered. Only 578 days, which I know sounds like a long period of time because it's over a year. But actually, as far as our runs go, that's pretty short. To put that into a bit of perspective, Mother 3 took 1,800 days to get funded. Okay, so, without any further ado, let's go ahead and start. Yes, no other horror games, unless anything else has already been grandfathered in. I just don't think there's any value in me covering horror games. Okay. The quickest game ever funded? Technically Mega Man 7, which took 0 days to get funded. Okay. Nice brickwork. First thing I notice. Yeah, some people, just to be very clear about this, some people have this impression that I will somehow change my mind about covering horror games. Let me be very clear. No. We will cover the horror games at some point, maybe, if they're funded, that are currently on the list, and that's it. Okay. Hello, Trihexia. I can't. There we go. I say it wasn't letting me back out of that screen. Are there many more on the list? No. We're through most of them. But no, I'll be very, very, very honest with you. One of the biggest reasons why one of the biggest reasons that horror games are vetoed is I just don't like horror games. And so any horror game I cover is just a very unpleasant experience for me. It's like, imagine for a moment a type of food you can't stand, and you're asked to critique that food. And so you have to actually critique it, right? You can't just be like, ugh, and then move on, or say, I don't like it and move on. You have to actually do your frickin' job. So you have to endure the food that you can't stand in order to give a proper review of that food. And that's what horror games are like for me. Yeah, let me try this bulb of fennel. Okay. Yeah, it's that's a bit extreme, but like you get the general idea. LSTRRLM. Okay. Repair logic module. Serving our great nation as ship technicians aboard the scout vessels of the Penrose program. LSTR-type replicas like yourself are equipped with a specialized repair logic module, allowing them to quickly and easily repair both themselves and important mission equivalent. Enter the inventory screen, select the item to repair, press F, do combine. That's a lot of buttons for something relatively simple. Sometimes it can be helpful to look at an object from all sides. Okay. I have no inventory yet. Very rarely do I find a horror game scary. Now, there are plenty of non-horror games I find plenty scary. Like, I've been scared. I've been atmosphered before. In fact, I'll actually give you a specific example of a... So there's one very, very, very rare exceptions of a horror game that actually scared me, and that is Silent Hill 2 Remake, specifically the remake. That was a wonderfully atmospheric game. So, A. Yong, Gestalt pilot, no signal, replica unit, that's us, active, mess hall. Hard landing on surface has damaged critical systems. Okay. So, okay, we're a replica. Cool, cool. Can we go faster? Oh, man. Eddie was so good in the remake. So good. Not as good as Colgrim. Colgrim was terrifying. My God. Oh. So take the suit. Okay. Thank you for the sub, Colgrim. I do appreciate you. Anyways, that's it. That's the big reasoning. There's nothing fancy or flashy here. I do not enjoy horror, and so I do not enjoy covering horror. That really is all that boils down to. Alien Shooter, Old World Blues, Dragon Age 4. It's worth noting plenty of things do kind of fall, slide through the cracks. And there's, of course, Mr. Red refers to these as horror adjacent, which is a perfectly acceptable phrase, because there's plenty of things that are horror adjacent, which are fine, right? Okay, so I do not have a key card or armor. Okay. Cool. I mean, wouldn't you, Zactad? Yeah, like Dead Rising, which, by the way, I honestly don't even consider horror at all, is horror adjacent, right? Honestly, Metroid is kind of horror adjacent. Assassin's Creed is horror adjacent. Etc., etc. Hello, Evo. Welcome to horror! A zombie game that's proper horror? I'm sure there's one somewhere. Anyone in chat want to jump on that? Because I'm not thinking of it. Like, for example, Resident Evil, that's not horror. Resident Evil 7 is like the only horror Resident Evil. Guess what? That one's vetoed. Okay, so it looks like our ship is turbo crashed. Yeah, Dragon Age is another good example. Or Witcher. There's some horrifying elements in those games. But I wouldn't call those horror, right? Favorite jump scare? Oh, jeez. Can I even think of something that's a jump scare that I like? I suppose Subnautica would be my answer to that. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, BioShock is horror adjacent. So all horror games are vetoed. But anything that was grandfathered in, I allowed, because, you know, they were funded before that rule existed. And that would just be unkind. Yeah, Subnautica is another good example of horror adjacent, by the way. So, when I think of horror, as with so many other definitions, you know it when you see it, right? Um, there's actually a specific game that jumps to my mind immediately as, like, seminal horror game. I can't even think of the name of it, of course. It's like Evil Within or something like that. Hang on. See if I can find it really quick. I think that actually is it. Evil Within, 2014. Yeah, no, that's it. That's what I think of when I think of like just generic horror game. That's what comes to mind immediately. I don't mean that as an insult. I have no idea if it's a particularly good or bad game. That's neither here nor there. Yeah, Amnesia would probably qualify as well. But Amnesia doesn't bother me because Amnesia doesn't delve into things that tend to bother me. So horror stuff tends to follow some fairly codified rules. By the way, hi off the deep end. Because like horror stuff tends to follow three general rules. One, it tries to be as disturbing as possible, which usually bleeds over into two, it tries to be as gross as possible, like gore, body horror, right? And that also bleeds over into three, it tries very hard to be. How do I explain this? It wants to trick you, the player, specifically, right? How it tricks you varies. It depends on what exactly they're going for. Maybe it tricks you by showing you something that's not real, or maybe it tricks you by showing you a section that doesn't work the way you think it is, or maybe it makes you think that there's a way to win the game when there isn't, or maybe there's some kind of I don't know. I'm having trouble coming up with specific things, but like you notice I have not mentioned jump scares. Honestly, most horror games I can think of don't actually do jump scares. If you see jump scares, that's either it tends to be something that's bad because jump scares are cheap, but also stuff that tends to be more actiony. Okay, so can I like? Oh, hello. Two, three, okay. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. Hang on a sec, hang on a sec. Oh god, where's my freaking map? Was this it? Hang on, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. There we go. Did that do it? Ah! Okay. So what is this thing? Uh-huh. Two pieces of a key snapped in half. Sure, I'll take the airlock key. Okay, well there's the airlock key. Woo! Penrose-type vessel field operations manual. Penrose-type vessels of the Usian People's Navy are low-cost space exploration vessels deployed beyond the solar system's edge in search for planets and moons fit for habitation or rich in natural resources to support the continuous growth of our great nation. All Penrose vessels are piloted by Gestalt Scout officers supported by Land Survey Ship Technician Replicas, or LSTRs. This partner system of Gestalt replica cooperation has proven successful in countless previous recon operations. Mutual control and support allow both the Gestalt officer and the technician replica to perform at their optimal capacity. Once the vessel is catapulted towards the edge of the system by an orbital mass driver, the pilot may adjust the course from the flight deck, while the replica will take care of mechanical maintenance of the vessel. I mean, yeah, the spider mannequin scene in Silent Hill 2 R was actually quite good. I was impressed with that. And while we're on the subject, Mr. Red referenced this earlier, but yeah, the scene, the jump scare of The Thing, of John Carpenter's The Thing, that was actually a pretty good jump scare. I'll actually give you that. So I want to Combine with that. I did, Evo. The problem is, as usual, you're asking me to define an RPG. So really, what it boils down to is a Dread game is not a horror game. I know that sounds strange, but in my mind, they're completely separate genres. Again, there's Silent Hill 2, and then there's Super Metroid. Agreed, Mr. Ed. And I know that sounds like a strange comparison, but that is the comparison, right? Super Metroid is Dread. Silent Hill 2 is horror. Like, straight up, right? Ow. Yeah, Resident Evil, that's over there. It's doing its own thing. Ow. Ow. That is actually bleeding. I hit my foot earlier while I was moving heavy stuff for my sister. Okay, yeah. We might have to... Sorry, one moment. If I could use another example. There's a weird... I can't even think of the name of it. You know what? Let's use... No, not the dog kennel scene, although that is another good example of that. That's true, Plutonian. I know it's a movie instead of a show, but just bear with me, okay? Event Horizon... Actually, let me ask this. Evo, have you seen the movie Event Horizon? Okay, what's the horror movie you've seen? Preferably one that I have also seen. Alien 1. You know what? Sure. Okay, so Alien 1, horror movie. Cool. That's actually not a very good example. Let's zoom in the camera on a specific scene in Alien. In Alien 1, there's a scene where a chestburster happens. You probably know the scene. It's quite infamous. Especially since the cast were not told it was going to happen. Anyways. So, you've seen that scene. That's pretty definitively horror. That's why I had to zoom in a little bit, Talia, on this one scene. Because that scene is pretty horror, right? Like, that's its tone, its approach, its style. It is normal, everyday. People are just chatting, calm. The tone is casual. And then, you know, something happens. And then, oh crap. And then dealing with that is pretty much the entire rest of the movie. But zoom in on that one scene. That's horror. Think about how you feel when you're watching that. Think about what that invokes and what that is intended to invoke within you, the viewer. Yeah, and then John Candy says, check, please. Hello, my baby. Now think about Best of Both Worlds over on Star Trek The Next Generation. Best of Both Worlds actually shares a lot of similar vibes as that scene, but to completely different intent. That's Dread, right? For those of you who haven't seen it recently, when I was doing the lore run, sorry, Eo, this is kind of for you too. So when I was doing the lore run of TNG, of Star Trek The Next Generation, when we got to Best of Both Worlds, I noticed the structure of the episode was even more brilliant than I already remembered. Because what will happen is several minutes of character stuff, world building, characters reacting to things, and we get an insight into them and their interactions with each other based on how they're interacting with things, right? And then the cube shows up for an average of about 20 to 30 seconds. It's just, there's the Borg cube. There's the Borg. And there's so little they can do about that. And they peace out, they split, they go, they hide in the nebula. And now the cube's just waiting outside the nebula. The tone comes right back down again. And that's Dread, right? There's no alien thing jumping out of your chest. There's no eldritch creature that may or may not be your friends. There's just this cube sitting outside a nebula, waiting for you. That's dread, right? That's a dread game. This is why I point to some other things, because obviously this can be presented in several ways. A lot of people look at me weird when I mention Assassin's Creed as dread games. It's more the older stuff than the modern stuff, but it's worth noting, in the original few Assassin's Creed games, the modern story was a horror story, or a dread story, if you prefer. The the uh, the bad guys, I can't think of what their freaking names are, had already won. They'd won for centuries. Right? The world is screwed, and they're in the middle of trying to make the world even more screwed on such an existential level. The Templars, thank you. The reality of what they're doing and how astonishingly callous their operations are, and what they are willing to do on a grand scale just to maintain their version of control over the world, is horrifying. It is filled with dread, right? Even the main plot we're trying to stop in Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, and then Brotherhood, and then Revelations, is primarily stopping them from launching a satellite which is going to mind control the planet. That's dread. You notice how it's a little bit different than, you know, the T-Rex, the looming T-Rex thing. Interesting. So far, I'm liking the visuals quite a bit. There's a strange hole leading deep in the ground, and a faint light growing there. Sure. Is it possible to do a jump scare that isn't cheap? Yes. It is very difficult to do. Especially nowadays, because there's effectively no way to lead into a jump scare without the viewer knowing it's coming. So, as weird as this sounds, by definition, you have to not lead into the jump scare. Right? If I can parallel this for a second. Imagine I'm sneaking through the facility, and I've got my flashlight, looking around. Gosh. I look over there. Then I look over there. And at this point, you're already waiting for it. By the time a few seconds have passed, you're already expecting the jump scare. Now, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, the moment the viewer is already at the point where they're expecting the jump scare has failed. So what some fiction will do, and this has been true for like 30 years now, this is an old trick, is they will then delay it and delay it and delay it and delay it, and just keep trying to hold that tension note of, when's it gonna drop? When's it gonna drop? And yeah, the jump scare doesn't come. Sometimes what they'll do is the scare chord will be over. I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? Everything's cool. Yeah, and you have the fake out moment. Then the jump scare drops. But the problem is, for a jump scare to work, it effectively has to not have build-up, because it has to jump scare you. It has to be surprising, right? By definition, it has to be surprising. So the viewer/player can't see it coming. I don't want to use specific examples because it is spoilery, but again, to go back to the thing for a second, the jump scare that comes there has nothing building up to it at all. It is a completely unrelated scene. The scene has its own tension, its own build-up, and its own payoff that has nothing to do with the jump scare. So the viewer watching the thing is just enjoying and getting into the moment and the emotions of that scene, and then the jump scare happens, and that actually derails it, shoves it right off over here, over to the left, right? And all of a sudden, you're in a different scene. That's how a jump scare works, right there. It is very rare because it takes a fairly large amount of time and work and effort in order to actually do that. Hi, Kevin. Okay, so, anyways, what do we got? What do we got? An ancient-looking tome is lying on the table. It feels like it's calling to me. The King in Yellow. Okay, cool. Yes. I do not know what the King in Yellow is. Yes. Someone write down 39486, just in case I need to remember this. Hang on. There's apparently a lot more numbers than I thought. Great holes secretly are digged where Earth's pores ought to suffice. Okay. And things have learned to walk that ought to crawl. Okay. Remember our promise. I didn't catch it in time. Oh, well. Yeah, I got a little... German and Japanese. Oh, so this is the world in which the Nazis won. The Axis powers were like, hell yeah, brother. Chapter 1, Synchronicity. Yep, we're playing the Woman in the High Castle. By the way, this is with the various effects that make this look like a CRT monitor all turned off. Because I value my head too much to give myself a headache. I just thought I'd share. Because that could easily have been a negative, and isn't. I wouldn't give it a positive for options. They're fine. There apparently is a photosensitivity mode. Let's turn that on, actually. Yeah, there's so film grain is off. CRT mode is off. And that's basically it. Oh, actually, hang on. I'm over here. Welcome to S23 Sierpinski. You've been selected or have been elected to be relocated by Eon to S23 Sierpinski. Located on Lang in the frontier of the solar system, S23 is the perfect place for a new beginning. At your prestigious vocational schools facility, you will learn new skills to shape your future as a productive citizen of the wonderful nation. Here you'll learn all about mineral extraction, ore refinement, and munitions production, helping the war effort against the remnants of the Empire. And of course, learning is not just about theory. Aeon lets you share while practicing your new craft right in the workplace. Concerned about your family, friends, former colleagues? Ask a protector about our ration sharing plan. A portion of your ration marks will be sent to a beneficiary of your choice. Oh my god. See, that's horrifying. What would happen to cause a staff shortage at a facility like this? Due to staff shortage, report new arrivals at classroom 4C. Sure. Yeah, that whole section made perfect sense. Unfortunately. So no, I didn't see your question about bits. I'm curious what I knew about as a kid. What are bits? German. Rule of 6. Remember the rule of 6. Never carry more than 6 items in your person. Property is a privilege. Keep your pockets empty and your bag light. Oh my god. Nice, Colgan. And again, negatively inclined fiction. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know what they meant back at the time, obviously. No. But yes, we all know about 4-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. Everyone kind of stopped at 32 because it stopped being reasonable to track it. Data filing? I'm assuming that's April 21st, something 2084. Full protector ID of unit filing request, blah, 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 blah. Department, blah, blah, blah. Full protector ID. Service object, Mond and Doctor High Security Wall Safe. Numeric number of location of object, classroom 4B. The wall safe in 4B keeps resetting to the default combination. What's the point of the whole radio code broadcasting system where safe can only be opened with the code in the manual? Okay. Oh, that's a save. Okay, sure, whatever. Hello, Dream Whisperer. Welcome to the future, where Japan and Germany conquered the world, and then this solar system, and then went to war with each other. Forever. Keep records. Protocol everything. Remember, if you didn't write it down, it never happened. Get the right forms from your administration, and save your files frequently. Call my attention. At least one worker might be aware of the code broadcasting frequencies for the protector wall saves. Any workers connected to this leak are to be interrogated until the culprit is found. I'm restricting all radio privileges for workers until further notice. Oh, you know another way you could screw up a jump scare while we're on the subject? Having the composer fall asleep and fall over on the keyboard. No running in the hallways. Be mindful of your neighbors. Everyone can hear you run. Well, we still don't know what the manual is, so I don't know the default. That's actually a more complex question than it sounds like, Elizar. But the bottom line is more bits means more storage per individual thing, is how I'm going to phrase that. So more bits means more storage, means higher resolution textures, means bigger objects, means more text, means more complex stats for individual objects, etc., etc. Horizon Zero Dawn. So that's a good example of a horror adjacent, which is what we were talking about earlier. So that's not vetoed because I don't consider it horror, but some really dread stuff in there. An L-Star unit. You should leave this place. This facility is lost. Turn back before it's too late. The animation's weirdly smooth. I'm looking for this woman. Have you seen her? No. I don't know her, but she might be one of the workers. All Gestalt workers were sent to the mine below the facility. If she's alive, she's probably down there. There's an access elevator to the mine shaft one level below, but you'll need an administrator's key to use it. Goodbye. Okay, we got the key. I mean, it should, Kamek. That's its point and purpose. And thank you for not spoiling, by the way. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Resident Evil, like, 1 and arguably 2 definitely are trying to be horror. Whether they succeed or not, And yeah, there was the exception of 7, which we mentioned earlier. Oh, sorry. Fell asleep on the keyboard again. Where was that? Okay. I really like the visuals here. A lot. There's a graphical style I've heard a few people talk about before, which Someone I know is trying to coin the term mid-res polygon, I think is how he said it. I forget the exact thing. But the idea is, you got high-res polygons. That's just modern stuff. You got low-res polygons, which is the old stuff. And then you got, like, that deliberately, like, late PS1, early PS2 kind of style of thing, right? Yeah, kind of a PSP. It's this, but very simply. It's a little bit more distinct, and you can do a lot with the animation of it. Replica. Biomechanical person. Synthetic reproduction of a gestalt. Biological culture grafted onto artificial endoskeleton and enclosed in a protective exoskeleton. Gestalt. A person that is not a replica. So there's an aperture card thing. Okay, okay. Good, Ganek. I'd rather you have no issues with it. Okay, so we've got the microfilm thing, we got the wall safe, we got the staff room. Let's head to the... The glass is a one-way mirror. I'll take the gun, sure. And the aperture card, yeah. The Type 75 pistol is a short recoil-operated locked breech semi-automatic pistol chambered in 10 by 20 millimeters. This reliable, versatile handgun is the standard issue firearm for the Eon Protector controller staff. Replica users, remember to first equip it in the inventory script to designate it as your primary weapon for targeting module. To deploy the weapon, use this, and then this to fire. Do not waste ammunition. It is a resource of the nation. When a target is down, try to finish it off by kicking or hitting it with a baton. Memorandum. I announced the following by order of Eon. Due to recent events in accordance with the new Eon Public Interest Media Regulation, the term blank, which is currently in use by the various Eon facilities, is no longer permissible and must no longer be used. Premises and departments that are currently using the term are immediately renamed. Management personnel shall black out the term from all signage and documents until replacement terminology is announced by Eon. With immediate effect, usage of the term in conversation and correspondence is an offense, obscenity to the state, punished by 2 cycles of a double work shift. May not be easy, but we all have to do our part here. Always remember, our language shapes our world. In a perfect world, requires perfect language. Cool. I mean, horrific, but, whatever. And yeah, based on the earlier dictionary thing, it's probably human. Well, we got a... I should probably equip the gun. Equip. There we go. We have 10 rounds. Friendbow is horror. Yes, absolutely. In many ways, Friendbow is one of the reasons that we no longer cover horror games. It was a kind of a trendsetter in several ways. Go figure. What was it about? Definitely just a girl escaping from an asylum. That's it. And that's all. And nothing else. Yeah, Friendbow is definitively horror. 100%. It is our first and only Black Licorice game. Because in the future, Black Licorice is automatically vetoed. Okay. Where'd the knife come from? Oh, hello. Which one, Mr. Red? You don't belong here either, do you? I'm Issa. Issa Ito. You should be careful. There's something wrong with this place. Whoa, are you nuts, Issa? You can't just threaten someone with a knife. Yeah, that's another one that got grandfathered in, which I'm just going to kind of live with, Mr. Red. I have zero doubt I'm not going to like that game, but let's see how it reviews. I don't know how it happened, but it's probably dangerous to go any further. That's okay, I understand. I have something I need to do, too. Take care. Hope you find who you're looking for. Bye. Bye. Aw. Can I have your knife? This wall safe complies with USIN Public Safety Equipment Regulations 41 and 43 and features a high-density craft stall door secured with a numeric keypad. Proudly produced on Heimat by Web. Oh my god. Rotate the dial, open the door. 204512. Hello, PB Good Fate. There we go. 205. Up. Found this note. Despite everything that's happened, I've come to look for you. Okay. Listen. This game is totally not inspired by Silent Hill. I don't know what you're on about. Okay, this way. I mean, they already mentioned we can only carry 6 items. Right now we have 2. Look at this photograph. Sorry. Ugh. I mean, I'm with PB Good Fate. Can we just get pockets? It's not that hard, right? Classroom key. So limited inventory size is kind of like the limited build moves limitation over in like Pokemon games, right? I'm explaining this badly. Let me try this again. I don't mind limited inventory, especially in a horror game, but most especially in a survival game, which may or may not be horror, because limited inventory size pretty much automatically increases the gameplay involved, right? Yeah, it slims the kit. You have to make decisions. Remember, gameplay at its fundamental core is about you doing something. You, the player, deciding. Excuse me, let me be more clear. Deciding to do something. Pressing a button to progress is not gameplay. Deciding that I'm going to hit this button first, then this button, then this button to do those things in that order. That's gameplay, right? So, what do you spend your inventory on is a decision that the player makes and can lead to some good gameplay. Can, note, lead to good gameplay. Does not automatically do so. Prey? I've never played the original Prey, and the new one, Turbo, isn't. Where am I? Ah. I guess it has to be this, like, by definition. Repair patch, sweet. Ammo, yes. Oh, great, off the deep end. I can't wait. So we're already kind of full, right? Is System Shock horror? No. System Shock 2 wants to be, but actually manages to dodge it for the most part. In my opinion. Let's... Reload our ammo. Yeah, there are moments in System Shock 2 which are like, ooh, ugh. So it kind of drifts in and out a little bit. See, in my experience, there's two ways to make a gun work for horror. One is make it so it's useless, which, honestly, I would not recommend because that actually just makes the player irritated. You've given me a tool, and then you've made it junk. But there's a second way you can make it more useful. Make its ammo count extremely limiting. So the gun's there, it's useful. You can take out enemies, but you get like 3 bullets, or 5, or 10, right? So each bullet counts. Now, you want to know some nice atmosphere here? You probably haven't even noticed, but almost every single room has one of these stupid cameras that's just automatically following me. So there's just kind of a question mark there. Is anyone behind those cameras? If yes, then that's horrifying. But if no, that's also horrifying, but for a different reason, because it implies that these people are in such a police state that they're just kind of used to that. I have not played Fatal Frame, so I can't speak to it. I understand the camera, but I've never played it. Yep, daily brain scans. I've never heard either. I've never heard of either one. Sorry. You, okay there? Sir and or madam? Yeah, I saw that, Morgan. I hope it's actually good. I know a lot of people who are fans of the franchise. I've just never touched it before. And at this point, probably never will. Mm. Okay, so that's the West Wing. I mean, that's the norm, right? The games that don't need remakes are the ones that have been getting them. In facilities like these small caged bunks are all a Gestalt worker can call their own. The protectors have been worried lately. They're hiding something. There's less of them. Ration plan keeps changing. Alana says I'm at them. I can feel their fear like it's my own. What are they scared of? A good question. Oops. What do you mean, Magister? Also, hi, Magister. Feeling a little lightheaded today. Hope it's not that new flu that seems to be going around. I can't afford to miss any more shifts. That storage at the factory was chewing me out for what felt like hours for fainting at work the last time I got a cold. I'd like to make a joke about being yelled at for fainting because you're sick at work, but I've actually had that happen to me in real life. In fact, I've worked a shift when I had kidney stones before. I haven't seen Elster the last few days. Hope she's okay. More and more people go to the mines, missing in the mines lately, including replicas. Not even the protectors seem to be safe. Kick them while they're down. 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 Security door. The lock on the door is jammed again, requesting a locksmith. Electronics reset key is nowhere to be found. I set up a lock picking kit, but management bumped the elevator engines up in priority, so next shift we'll have to pick the lock. It's just trial and error at this point. Find me if you need a key to open the service hatch. Okay, I'm with it, I'm with it. I'm kind of feeling an animation's positive. I don't know, it's a little too early to gauge. What do y'all think? We've only really had like 2 cutscenes, but they've both been pretty smooth. I knew it, Talia. That's be the only one. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the alien vibes are definitely there. Yeah, there it is. Inventory capacity. Combat accessibility. Text speed. Control style, language, etc. Sorry, I keep yawning. Okay, what the heck am I missing? It looked like a difficulty slider. I'm assuming it's a difficulty slider. It might not have been a difficulty slider. Bragwin knows if it was a difficulty slider or not. Yeah, there's actually a term for that aliens vibe, which I don't remember what it is. You know it if you've seen it. It's a very specific 70s sci-fi, right? No, not the pastel thing. You know what I mean. Thank you for the sub, Braven. As always. Cassette futurism is actually the term? I never heard of that. I believe you. Yeah, tell me about it, Braven. Okay, so what do we got here? Oh, this is... I have no idea where to go. Okay, hang on. But I have a card, don't I? No, I don't. I have a service hatch. Okay. Service hatch key. Okay. How the hell do I use the service hatch key? Okay. Oh my god! Okay, okay, okay. Hmm. Hey. But yeah, it's... Sorry to derail a little bit. It's one of the same reasons why I tend to counsel that things should look stylized instead of realistic. It's because style endures, right? Same thing with trying to make something look futuristic in something sci-fi. I would argue that there are several things in, I'll use Star Trek as an example, that still look futuristic-y now because they were going for a style rather than trying to make something actually look futuristic-y. Whereas if you look at some of the more modern stuff, where they're trying to look futuristic-y, they don't. This is a thing. Okay, sure. Yeah, Twilight Zone has managed that as well. And, some Star Wars, I would say, looks good, you know, now. Again. That's what I thought. Guessing that didn't work. Okay. Yeah, function. So I guess the exact opposite of what I just did. Maybe? God, I don't know. Hang on. Nope. Okay. Thank you, Valerian. As always. Now, I need you to do a very boring job in keeping the world running properly. I'm not sure which one, but I'm sure we can find one of them. Ring Racers, Pikmin 3, and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Okay, so let's do this, and this. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's not it. Okay. So I thought I had it twice, and both times were wrong. And so at this point, I actually don't know what I'm trying to solve. Like, I don't understand at this point what the joke, the puzzle is. It wasn't line it up here, and it wasn't line it up down here. So where else do I line it up? I don't understand what that means at all. I'm just going to be really blunt with you. What am I trying to solve? What is the goal? Do I want these pins to be average? Because we've already done that. Do I want these to be lined up? Because we've already done that. Yeah, I don't know lockpicking in real life, guys. I'll just look it up. Jesus Christ. What's the name of the stupid game? Signalis lock puzzle. It's randomly generated. Of course it is. You know what? You know what? You know what? Hang on. Hang on. This is a great time to stop playing this game. Let's just do that. Where are we? Hang on. Let's see. Is it up here? Oh god, there hasn't been a save in this whole floor, has there? God, there is no save. Why is there no save point? Is there seriously no save point here? On the whole floor? I mean, we've actually talked about the concept of doing a hypothetical thing, which I'll never do, of course, where we play a game until I hit a quit point, and then, like, all right, and then, like, rate it based on how far through the game we got. But for real, I'm going to chop off. I'll see you guys tomorrow.